My friend, listen. We live in days not of ease, but of decision. Days where the winds are shifting, the earth is groaning, and the hearts of many are growing cold. But you were not born for complacency. You were not fashioned in the secret place to merely survive another day. You were created with purpose, and so the question is not merely, how can I stay motivated, but why am I alive at all? For motivation does not come from man. It does not arise from positive thoughts or clever slogans. It is born from fire, holy fire, and you, child of the Most High, must walk with that fire every single day. Do you want to stay motivated? Then you must return to the place of beginnings. Return to the secret place where the noise of this world is silenced, where the voice of God is not drowned out by the roar of culture. Go there daily. Wake up and fall on your knees, for it is written, those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall rise up with wings like eagles, and not like pigeons. Eagles, motivation is not the product of good circumstances. It is the overflow of a heart set on pilgrimage, a heart that knows the promised land lies ahead. Look at Moses, 40 years in a desert, yet his eyes burned with purpose. Look at Nehemiah, surrounded by rubble and threat, yet his hands did not drop, his resolve did not fade. Look at Paul, beaten, shipwrecked, imprisoned, and yet he declared, I press on toward the goal to win the prize. They were not motivated by applause. They were not driven by comfort. They were set ablaze by a vision higher than their own lives. You want daily motivation? Then set your eyes higher. Lift them from the mirror of self and fix them on the hills from whence your help comes. There is a mission, and it has your name on it. There is a battle, and your sword is needed. There is a call, and only you can answer it. Do not wait for the fire to come to you. Become the fire. Speak life where others curse. Pray when others mock. Love when it costs. Forgive when it's undeserved. Stand when others bow. For your motivation is not tied to outcomes, it is tied to obedience. Every morning, ask not, how do I feel? Ask, what does the Lord require of me this day? And then walk it out in faith, in love, in the power of the Spirit. The times are urgent, the hour is late, but you were made for this moment. Let the heavens be your reminder, let the Scriptures be your food, let the Spirit be your strength. Stay motivated not by might, nor by power, but by His Spirit. And when the world asks how you burn so bright, you will say, not by my strength, but because I walk with the flame. Motivation is born from holy fire, not feelings. Feelings come and go, rising like the morning mist, and fading just as quickly. They are fleeting, unreliable, and often shaped by the circumstances around us. One moment you feel strong, ready to conquer mountains. The next you feel weary, unsure, and overwhelmed. If you build your life on feelings, you will be tossed like a wave in the sea, driven and unstable. But holy fire, this is different. It is not sparked by emotion, but ignited by divine purpose. It comes from the altar of surrender, from time spent in the presence of the Almighty. The fire of heaven does not waver based on moods or headlines. It burns steady, pure, and unyielding. In the Scriptures, God never calls His people to feel motivated. He calls them to be set apart, to walk in faith, to burn with passion for Him. When Moses encountered God in the burning bush, it was not a motivational speech that changed him. It was fire. When Elijah called down fire from heaven, it wasn't theatrics. It was alignment with the will of God. The early disciples weren't motivated by popularity or success. They were moved by fire, the fire of the Holy Spirit that fell on them like tongues of flame. That same fire is what you need, not temporary inspiration, but eternal ignition. You must build your motivation not on how inspired you feel, but on how aligned you are with the purposes of God. The fire doesn't ask if you feel ready. It asks if you are willing. And when you say yes to the fire, you are saying no to apathy, no to fear, and no to the shallow highs and lows of worldly motivation. This fire is the only source that sustains. Return daily to the secret place with God. The secret place is not a physical location, but a spiritual posture, a hidden chamber of the soul where you meet with the Almighty away from the noise, the demands, and the distractions of the world. It is there, in the quiet, that strength is renewed, direction is received, and the fire of motivation is rekindled. The world will offer you countless voices, news, opinions, trends, endless noise, but only one voice can restore your soul. The voice of God is not found in the earthquake, nor the fire, nor the wind, but in the still small whisper. And you can only hear that whisper if you make time to be still. You cannot run on yesterday's manna. Just as Israel had to gather fresh bread each morning in the wilderness, you must come daily to the secret place to receive what you need for the day ahead. It's not a ritual, it's a lifeline. Your strength, your purpose, your clarity, your very breath comes from that encounter. It is written, "In quietness and trust shall be your strength." The secret place is not for the strong. It is where the weak are made strong. It is not for the confident. It is where the broken are made whole. There, in the hidden place, your heart is aligned with heaven. Your fears are silenced, your anxieties melted, your motives purified. You exchange your burdens for His peace, your confusion for His wisdom, your weariness for His joy. This world will drain you, but the secret place fills you. And when you rise from that place, you are not merely encouraged, you are transformed. The secret place is where motivation is no longer something you chase, but something you carry within you, ignited by divine presence. Fix your eyes on the eternal, not the temporary. The things of this world are like shadows. They shift, they fade, they vanish with time. What seems important today will be forgotten tomorrow. The applause of man, the wealth of nations, the trends of culture, all pass away, but the eternal remains. It is written, "What is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." If your eyes are fixed on what changes, your motivation will rise and fall with the tides. But if your eyes are set on the eternal, you will not be shaken. You will walk with clarity, with direction, with endurance. The patriarchs of old endured because they were looking for a city whose builder and maker is God. They lived as strangers in a foreign land because they understood something greater was ahead. They were not running for trophies of dust, but crowns of glory. Their eyes were not on the giants in front of them, but on the promise beyond them. That is how they pressed forward, even when the way was hard. You too must lift your gaze. You must see beyond the present moment, beyond your failures, beyond your successes, beyond your fears, and see the hand of God writing a story that spans eternity. Motivation loses its power when you anchor it to this world. But when your motivation is rooted in heaven, it becomes unshakable. You don't run for temporary gain. You run for a prize that never fades. You don't serve for recognition. You serve because eternity is watching. You don't live for now. You live for forever. And every decision, every act of obedience, every sacrifice finds its meaning in that eternal light. When your eyes are fixed on what cannot be taken away, your heart is strengthened, and your steps are established with purpose. Purpose is greater than comfort. Comfort seeks to protect the flesh, but purpose demands the sacrifice of it. Comfort says stay where it's safe, stay where it's easy, stay where you are not stretched. But purpose says go where you are called, even if the road is narrow, even if the cost is high. The greatest lives ever lived were not lives of ease. They were lives poured out for something greater than themselves. Abraham left everything he knew to walk into the unknown because of purpose. Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, and prison because he carried a dream that came from heaven. Esther risked her life for her people. None of them chose the path of comfort, but all of them were chosen for purpose. When you live for comfort, you avoid risk, you avoid challenge, you avoid growth. But when you live for purpose, You embrace the refining fire, knowing that it shapes you into what you were created to be. Motivation rooted in comfort will always fail, because the moment things get hard, the desire to continue disappears. But when motivation is driven by purpose, it endures through pain, it rises in adversity, it thrives even in the wilderness. Purpose does not ask, "Is this easy?" It asks, "Is this right?" Every great calling will pull you out of your comfort zone. It will stretch you, test you, and strip away the superficial until only the eternal remains. Comfort is fleeting, but purpose is eternal. It is not about how smooth the road is, but where the road leads. The prophets, the apostles, the saints of old, they did not live easy lives, but they lived meaningful ones. They chose the hard path because they knew it was the only one that led to glory. Comfort may soothe the body, but purpose ignites the soul. You were created for this moment in history. You are not an accident, not a mistake, and not here by chance. The God who formed the stars and numbered the days of nations also formed you, breathed life into you, and placed you precisely in this time and this season for a reason. It is written that David served the purposes of God in his own generation. You too have a generation, and you have a purpose to fulfill within it. You were not meant to spectate while the battle rages. You were born into this hour because your life carries a weight, a calling, a divine assignment that no one else can fulfill in quite the same way. The times may seem dark, the foundations may be shaking, but God does not make mistakes. He does not equip warriors for battles that do not exist. You were given gifts, strengths, even wounds, each of them preparing you for the very moment you now stand in. The prophets longed to see the days you are now living in. The angels watch with anticipation to see how you will run your race. Heaven has invested in you, not to simply survive, but to stand, to speak, to move with purpose. When you understand that you were made for this moment, discouragement loses its grip. You no longer ask why things are so difficult. You begin to ask why you were chosen to carry light into them. Your life is not random. Every breath is appointed. Every step can be directed. The same God who positioned Esther in the palace, who placed Daniel in Babylon, who sent Paul into Rome, has positioned you here. Not in another century, not in another culture, but here and now, because here is where your calling unfolds. Motivation flows from obedience, not outcome. The world teaches you to chase results, to measure success by what you can see, touch, or achieve. But the kingdom of God operates on a different principle. It is not the outcome that fuels the servant of God, it is the act of obedience itself. Noah built the ark for years with no sign of rain. Abraham walked up a mountain prepared to offer his son, not because he saw how it would end, but because God had spoken. Obedience is the soil where true motivation grows. It does not rely on applause or approval. It is rooted in trust. When your motivation depends on outcome, you are at the mercy of circumstance. When things go well, you press on. When results are slow or invisible, you falter. But when obedience is your aim, you keep moving whether the harvest is near or not. You do not serve because of what you see. You serve because of who He is. Obedience aligns your heart with heaven. It says, "Not my will, but yours be done." And in that surrender, you find a fire that does not burn out. The prophets spoke even when no one listened. The apostles preached even when they were imprisoned. They didn't wait for favorable conditions to obey. They obeyed, and heaven moved through their faithfulness. You may not see the impact of your obedience today, but eternity sees it. You may feel like your faithfulness is hidden, but nothing hidden from man is hidden from God. The smallest act of obedience in secret can shake nations in the spirit. True motivation is not the product of success. It is the byproduct of surrender. When you live to obey rather than to achieve, Your strength is renewed daily, and your steps become steady even in the storm. Your mission has your name on it. Before you were formed in the womb, you were known. Before a single breath left your lips, a calling was placed over your life. You were not created to mimic someone else's journey or to chase someone else's assignment. There is a mission that was crafted for you alone, with your fingerprints, your voice, your past, your story woven into it. Heaven wrote a scroll with your name on it, and every page reveals purpose. You are not one of many. You are one called, chosen, and commissioned for a specific task in this generation. No one else can fulfill what has been placed in your hands. You were entrusted with a territory, a people, a burden, a message. And the enemy's greatest tactic is to distract you from that mission, to get your eyes on comparison, on fear, on failure, to make you believe you are unqualified or unseen. But what God calls, He equips. What He ordains, He sustains. You are not too late, too broken, too small. You are exactly what the mission requires when God is the one who sends you. The mission may not look grand in the eyes of the world. It may be raising children, interceding in silence, serving behind the scenes, planting seeds no one sees. But in the kingdom, no assignment is small when it is divinely appointed. Heaven values obedience more than visibility. Your mission carries eternal weight because it carries His breath. You do not need to find purpose outside yourself. He placed it within you. You were born with it, and every step of your life has been leading to it. Every scar, every trial, every lesson has been shaping you for what you were born to do. You do not need to wait for permission to begin. Become the fire, don't wait for it. The world waits for inspiration, for the perfect moment, for a sign in the sky before moving forward. But those who change history do not wait for fire to fall from heaven. They carry it within them. The Spirit of God does not dwell in temples made by hands, but in living vessels. You were meant to burn with the presence of the Almighty, to be a carrier of His flame in a world growing cold. The early church did not wait for comfort or ideal conditions. They moved with boldness because the fire had already been lit inside of them. You were not meant to chase revival. You were meant to be revival. You were not called to echo other voices. You were called to carry the living voice of God. When the priests in the temple let the fire go out, the presence departed. But when the fire was kept burning on the altar, the glory remained. So it is with your life. You must tend the flame, fan it into full flame, not through emotion, but through devotion, through prayer when it's dry, worship when it's hard, obedience when it costs. Too many wait for others to ignite what God has already placed in them. But you are not created to be passive. You are a living altar. Let your heart become a furnace for the things of God. Speak life when others are silent. Stand in holiness when others compromise. Intercede when others scroll. The fire is not an external event. It is an internal reality. It is the evidence of intimacy with the Holy One. When you choose to burn, darkness has no answer. You don't have to wait for revival to come to your city when it has already come to your spirit. Walk by faith, not by sight or circumstance. The eyes are deceived by what they see, the brokenness, the obstacles, the delays. But faith looks beyond the visible and believes in what is yet unseen. The natural world shows us only the surface, but the spiritual world reveals the heart of God's plan. Abraham did not see a child in his old age, but he believed God's promise, and it was credited to him as righteousness. The apostles faced storms, prisons, and persecution, yet they walked by faith, confident that God's power was greater than their situation. Faith is not passive. It is an active, daily choice to trust in the goodness and sovereignty of God, regardless of what your circumstances declare. It does not deny reality, but it refuses to be ruled by it. When you walk by sight, you are limited by the here and now. But when you walk by faith, you are empowered to rise above, to press on, and to see the invisible hand of God at work even in the darkest moments. Your motivation will falter if it is based solely on what you can see or feel. But when you fix your heart on faith, motivation becomes a spiritual discipline. It calls you to step into the unknown, to keep moving when the path is unclear, and to trust that every step is ordered by God. Faith opens eyes to divine possibilities, strengthens your soul against despair, and fuels perseverance when hope seems distant. The journey of faith is not easy, but it is the only way to walk with power and purpose. It is the anchor in the storm, the light in the darkness, and the assurance that God's promises will not fail. When you choose faith over sight, your steps become bold, your heart steady, and your motivation unshakable, no matter the trials that come. Stay fueled by the Spirit, not the world. The world offers many things to stir your heart: entertainment, success, praise. But these fuels are temporary and shallow. They flicker and fade like dry tinder. True motivation, the kind that lasts day after day, comes from a deeper source, the Spirit of God living within you. It is He who breathes life into dry bones, who fills the weary with strength, who ignites passion where there was only coldness. Without His presence, your efforts will wither. With Him, your spirit will soar. The Spirit is not just an idea or a feeling. He is the power of God at work in you. When Jesus promised the Spirit, He said He would be a helper, a guide, a source of wisdom and strength. This is the fuel that does not run out, the fire that never burns low. The world may offer quick fixes, but the Spirit offers transformation. The Spirit sustains when your body wants to quit. The Spirit encourages when your soul is heavy. The Spirit calls you higher when the path seems impossible. If you try to live motivated by the world's standards, by applause, by comfort, by results, you will find yourself empty. The world's fuel leads to burnout and despair because it is built on shifting sand. But when you depend on the Spirit, your motivation becomes rooted in eternal life. It flows from a wellspring that never dries up. The Spirit empowers you to persevere, to serve selflessly, to love relentlessly, even when the world around you grows cold and dark. Every day, you must choose to stay connected to the Spirit. Through prayer, worship, and surrender, you invite His presence to fill your heart anew. When you do, you are no longer motivated by your own strength or the fleeting energies of this age. You are empowered by the very breath of God.